Dan Tom here at Extreme Couture with Home of Fight, here with Dan Ige, featherweight, coming off a big win at UFC 314 with Sean Woodson. Dan, first off, how does it feel to get back in the win column?
It feels amazing. It feels great to be back home here, celebrating with my family, my team. I have the best gym, best coaches in the world, and man, it just feels really good to come home a winner.
Definitely want to ask you more about the team here, but as far as the fight goes, in the post-fight press conference, you were asked about the stoppage as well as how you thought the fight was going. It's really tough to ask you guys right after you came off a battle. Like you said, you didn't have time to watch it, but you did bring up two great points. One, the body work that you hurt him with, not just shots to the head, right? I think people really underestimate that body work, casual fans, even pros alike sometimes, and as well as, the point that you guys can't stop or, decide when the ref stops a fight. I think those were great points, but let me ask you then, have you had time to rewatch the fight and have your thoughts changed? Anything jumped out to you since you've watched it back?
You know what? I understand the controversy, and I do believe the commentary plays a big role into that, because in the moment when I was in there and I was, he shot in on my legs and I was hammer fisting him and the ref stopped the fight, dude, the crowd erupted. I felt the energy. Like, there was no controversy there. Everyone was stoked that I finished the fight, and I went in there and I did what I was supposed to do. Then when I went back and watched it, DC said his comments, Rogan, Anik, whoever, they said what they said, and it kind of sucks because it robs me a little bit from my victory. But at the same time, it's like, dude, that ref, could have saved that guy's career. If anything, it just robbed me of a greater and a bigger finish of I don't know, essentially just damaging the guy more and more and more, which he's a good dude. It's like, I don't necessarily want to give him brain damage, but they're calling these short shots. Like, my short shots are hard thudding shots. Like, that's not just a little pitter patter. Like, I was hitting him with full force aggression and trying to hurt him. And, dude, he was just laying on my leg. And I get he was standing up in the moment, but again, separate, create more distance, land more big shots. I had so much more in the tank. It is what it is. We got the W. We got the finish. Here we are.
Fantastic explanation.
Yeah. Sean Woodson shot. That's what Coach said. Sean Woodson never shoots. And I did mention that in the press conference. You've never seen this guy shoot ever, really. And that was his last desperate move. Was let me go for a takedown, and it wasn't even an actual shot. It was just reach and grab and basically just stay there till the ref stops the fight. So
sure, from body shots to flurries, we've seen guys done to the body. We've seen people stuck on that single before with no controversy. That stoppage has happened plenty of times without controversy. So I get you there. As far as the scorecards go and how it felt in the fight, how did you guys feel it was going in the fight? Did you feel you were up 2? Did you feel it was 1-1? Did you guys feel any urgency? What was the storylines in there?
I felt pretty confident going back to the stool each round. When I watched the fight, I think he landed probably a little more than I landed, but as far as like effective shots and like power differential and, damage and ring management, I feel like I was winning on all the criteria there. He probably landed a little more pitter-patter shots and nothing super effective. Kicked my leg a few times, nice, and but going into round 2, round 3, I was very confident that I was up, and I just had to keep doing what I was doing. I was finding my rhythm, finding my timing, and eventually, yes, it led to the finish.
Now, do you think that, to your point about the broadcast influencing things, do you think sometimes those stats, when they put the significant stats where it may show like, Woodson may have 10 more significant strikes, which aren't accurate stats on the night, by the way, do you think those influence people as well? They're not really seeing like what the actual effective strikes and who they're actually coming from?
Definitely influences people, because they're not the ones in there getting hit or feeling what's going on. I was in there. I never felt in danger. If you look at his body language, you could tell he didn't want to get hit. He didn't want to feel the power, and every time I hit him, there was like a clash, there was a thud, there was a big sound effect, and that was just my bone. Like, that was the thud of my punches, where he was just touching. I mean, I will give him that his leg kicks freaking hurt, because it was just like a bone. Like, he has no muscle. It was just literally a bone to my bone. But yeah, To answer your question, yeah, I do think a lot of those stats and commentary do lead into like the way people think and process how the fight's going, and that's why I love watching fights with no commentary, no audio. You know, you can really see what's happening. But
well, aside from the win in your record, the money in your bank account, which obviously is most important at the end of the day, let me ask you, to your credit, Sean Woodson even seemed like he was giving you respect and like no controversy. He was clapping you, and that's something I noticed. Like I almost compare you to a guy like Jim Miller. Not that I wish you to fight into your 40s, Dan, but in the sense of like, dude, your resume already. Forget when you're done. Already, you have one of those resumes where you look like this guy fought everybody. You know, kind of like Jim. You know, moving up in weight to fight Thiago Alves, a title challenger. You just fought a title challenger, Diego Lopes, on short notice. Like, and more importantly, when I speak to Jim, he says more important than any of that stuff, he says what's most important to him is the respect of his colleagues. And I don't hear anybody say a bad word about Dan Ige. Do you feel that respect from your colleagues, A, and B, does that stuff mean anything to you?
you know, and thank you for that. I think I'm getting more and more respect. You know, especially that was my 19th UFC fight. You know, I have my next fight will be my 20th fight in the UFC. Nearly a minute into round one, people were chanting Ige, Ige, and I was like, that was cool. I don't think I've ever had that respect and just that chant of people chanting my name, and it was just cool to finally get some of that respect. But at the end of the day, you know, I do this for me. I do this for my family and the people, the close people around me, and I do care what people think about me, but I really don't.
For sure, and let me ask you on that, because I might get a similar answer to that, but you said it doesn't hurt to hear the crowd cheering your name, and obviously you're a guy that, you know, I think the fans agree, like, we want to see Dan Ige in front of a live crowd on pay-per-views. Do you enjoy fighting on these pay-per-views? Does it make a difference that you have, like, Trump in the cabinet there? Is that cool to you? Does that make, like, no difference? You're tunneled in? Or, you know, what's your feelings on that for the live crowd?
I'm pretty dialed in, but I do definitely enjoy a live crowd. I think just that energy and getting up for a big fight. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, I'll fight in the Apex too. It's my mindset is fairly the same going into that fight versus a big arena crowd. But I definitely prefer those big, you know, that's what I dreamed of, you know, when I got into the sport, was fighting in front of thousands and thousands of people and cheering and booing and just that energy. You can really feel it, and I felt the energy in there that night. I felt the people chanting, I felt the roars, and I didn't let it like dictate how I perform or do things differently because of the chants. I just kept doing what I was doing, but like, it felt nice to have the people on my side and just going after, man, and going for the finish the whole time.
Yeah, well, UFC 314, of course, we mentioned everybody from Dan Ige's fight, of course, prelim fighters like Jim Miller to politicians cage side, but it was headlined by your division, right? Alexander Volkanovski against a former opponent of yours, Diego Lopes. Let me ask you, what do you think of Volkanovski Performance and his legacy overall as a champion?
Yeah, I did happen to have some time to watch that fight, and dude, Volk looked amazing. Like, his game plan, his boxing, his jab, his footwork, and he stuck to his game plan. And I can't sit here and really criticize Diego that much, because, you know, he got in there and went 5 rounds with one of the best to ever do it, one of the pound for pound greats, and Volkanovski. But man, he just looked, you know, he looked like the champion that he is, and couldn't be more proud of him.
And this is a little my own conjecture here, but I almost see, you're different fighters, obviously, but I see some similarities from obvious ones, like you and Volkanovski's stature to your division, to the fact of, like, as you guys have, you know, progressed, you guys both came on the scene with grappling bases, strong pressure fighters. You guys could still do that. But you guys have also gotten really technical. You could fight on the outside despite what your perceived stature might be compared to some of these fighters, and still outstrike these guys. Do you take anything from Volkanovski's game to yours? Do you admire anything from his game?
100%. You know, he's again, like I said, he's one of the best to ever do it, and this is a copycat sport in a way. You have to look at, I study the best and see what they do well, and I try to take little things from everyone. And Volk's a guy that I've studied a lot of, and again, like you said, we're very similar in stature. We're shorter, but we have long reach, so it's deceptive, and he knows how to fight long. He has amazing footwork and an incredible gas tank. And I think we carry a lot of those same, you know, strengths, and that'd be a crazy fight one day too. But yeah, I admire the guy a lot, and definitely study him and try to take from him and add it to my own game and make it my own. So.
And what do you think is next for Volkanovski? Yair Rodriguez, Movsar, Evloev, what do you think?
It's hard, man. I know Movsar, like, people don't. I think he deserves it. You know, he 9-0 in the division, and I understand he hasn't finished anyone, but he's beaten some really good guys, and not the most. I mean, I think his fights are exciting. Like, his fight with Aljo was entertaining. His fight with Allen was entertaining to me. You know, just being in the division, but a new name for Volk would be. I think it makes sense. You know, he has fought Yair. Yair looked incredible. Yair definitely deserves it. So, but, you know, there's a line, and I think fighting a new name would make sense, especially if he wants to fight sooner than later. But I know Yair would be ready to. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
And what about your former opponent, Diego Lopes? What do you think's next for him? Perhaps a rematch in the stars for you?
I could definitely see a rematch down the road. I don't know if it's next. It's not necessarily the fight I'm eyeballing right now, but I think he takes a little time and kind of reevaluates and see where he wants to go. But maybe someone like Lerone Murphy could make sense. And yeah, I think that seems like a good fight. I don't know.
Well, who are you eyeballing, man? That's what we want to know.
I like that Pitbull fight. You know, Pitbull is an absolute legend. Not from a ranking perspective, because I don't believe he's ranked after the ranking update and whatnot, but just as a fight for my legacy, a big name, and styles, man. Styles make fights, and him and I are very similar in stature, and it'd be a freaking war. So.
Well, I think that'd be a great fight, and anybody who knows anything about that sport knows how much a potential win over Pitbull means. I mean, that guy's, you know, pound for pound, kind of like Volkanovski in a sense, correct?
Oh, 100%. And not to steal from Yair's shine, but if I can go out there and do it better, you know, that just puts me right back up into the conversation again to fight whoever. Yeah. So.
Absolutely. And, you know, I said I wanted to circle back to your team here. And obviously, you know, we're here at Extreme Couture. Obviously, you have a great connection with Eric Nicksick, but I don't think people realize how rare in the sport is, even outside of the sport, just as a martial artist. Like, having a good coach can be rare. I think people, you know, kind of can forget that. Maybe you have a good coach and you're like, oh, I always wish, you know, I had this, you know, coach that was as good as this guy. And I don't think people realize how rare it is. How blessed do you feel to have a guy like, you know, Eric Nicksick in your corner, and someone, you know, I know you shouted out your wife, Savannah, a beautiful shout on the post-fight,
yeah.
But kind of completing that team on the other side of that support team, having a guy like Eric, so to speak.
Yeah, Eric's a man. You know, we've been doing this. He can tell you exactly how many fights we've had together. I don't know. I lose count. But we've been doing this for a long time, and we get to push each other to new boundaries and new heights, and seeing his success, seeing my success, you know, we're always there to pick each other up. But Eric's, you know, a staple in my life, a staple in my corner, but I also have, you know, an array of amazing coaches. You know, Jimmy Gifford, Eddie Baracco. We have Ray Sefo, Nate Pettit, Jake Shields. Dude, who else? See, we have just the world's best team and coaches here, and then training partners, dude. Like we've recently kind of created like a small special division of just the elite of the elites, and it's a very small group. You know, Team Extreme Couture is my team, but it's like you take the United States Navy, and then you take the Navy SEALs, and then you take the Navy SEALs, and you have DevGru, which is the elite of the elite, and we've essentially created something similar to where we just have the best of minds and some of the best guys in the gym. It's not a open class that you could just check into. It's invite only, and we just want people to build and give what they can and just make everyone better. And everyone who's bought into that program has been successful so far. So that's been a huge change in my career and my development. And we're just just keep getting better, man. Keep getting better.
Well, you've been a huge example and a good role model for that system. Last couple from me. So Dan, obviously, you're one fight at a time, but also, you're a guy that's steadfast and strong with your goals. The goal is obviously, I take it, still a title, or are we trying to break the Joe Lozon bonus record and go buy some land in Hawaii, or what's the plan here? What's going on?
I mean, the goal's always been to win the belt, but I don't, the belt, I don't identify with the belt. I walk as a champion. I carry myself as a champion. I live as a champion. So having a belt or not doesn't change who I am, but it's obviously a goal that I strive for daily. It's not the day I win the belt is not the day I just walk away and be like, I did it. I'm living that life now as if I am the champion. If I were a champion, I had the resources of a champion, I'm doing what I would already be doing. So, it's hard in the sport because I've been given a lot of opportunities and I've fallen short, and but I think there's still promise in my career and still hope that I can make that run, but it's not the first and foremost goal on my mind right now. It's just let's just rack up some wins again, and then we can start talking about rankings and titles and contender fights and whatnot. But let's get 3 wins, and then we'll talk.
All right, last one here at Home Fight. We like to have some fun. We like to ask the fighters what their best and worst bet is. It doesn't have to necessarily be betting. Maybe it was, coming to the mainland to wrestle or coming here to train. But what was the best and worst bet for Dan Ige in his life so far?
The best bet was betting on myself. Moving here with nothing in my pocket and going all in. I literally put all my chips in one basket, $27. That's all I had. Moved here, went all in on myself, and I took that gamble, and now, dude, I'm blessed, man. I'm highly favored, and the worst bet is I don't know. I don't know.
No worries, man, because that best bet answer literally just gave me chicken skin. That was so good. Thank you so much for your time, Dan. We really appreciate it. We're going to be following you. Anybody you want to shout out before we get out of here? The stage is yours.
No, just thank you again to everyone for the continued love and support. I love my friends, my family, my wife, my kids, my team, and I'm blessed. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dan, and keep it locked to Home of Fight.